How's it going, critter people? I hope you all are doing well. Today I'm going to be going over a video by Ruff Beginnings Dog Training and Ruff Beginnings Rehabilitation Dog Training and Rescue, I believe is the name of her company, and or just channel. Corrections in dog training, what is fair? So I saw this in passing a long time ago. I didn't actually watch through the whole thing, and I thought, well, this would be something interesting to go over, see what she has to say. She has a pretty big channel, good for her. And so there's a lot of information going out to maybe people who don't know. So we're going to see what she thinks is fair, what she happens to say is fair. As far as it goes, what is fair and what isn't. It's really an opinion based on humans. She may have a different opinion on what is fair versus what I think is fair. So you can ask a dozen different people, and they may give you a dozen different answers. But all it really matters is if the dog really thinks it's fair. And a lot of times humans don't give fair corrections or give the dog a fair shake. We have unrealistic expectations of them. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Everything under Fair Use Act for Education. All the footage here is being used under Fair Use Act for Education, criticism, giving my personal opinion, trying to give a voice to the dogs. It's nothing personal. Please don't go send her any kind of hate or anything like that. This is, again, nothing personal. I'm just giving my opinion from one trainer's advice to another. And I'm not talking to other trainers out there, not trying to change anybody's mind, just putting my point of view out there from my own experience and education and whatnot for people who want to hear a different side of things and make up their own decision.
Hey guys, Bethany with Ruff Beginnings Rehab Dog Training, and I have something to share with you. It's a thought, something I want everyone who uses.
And I can't tell, this is just me, like this yellow, I love the color yellow, so this of course attracted me. I can't tell, it looks like there might be 4 mini educator, I always call them handles for whatever reason, but controllers. Like, if I ever say handle, I mean controller. Mini educator is an e-collar, electric collar, shock collar, whatever you want to call it. Looks like there's 4, controller systems over there. I don't know if they are. If they are, then, I see cot, I see, doggy bed, but I happen to see these as a pretty common thing among the, trainers who use corrections like e-collars and stuff. I'm not saying that she uses them. I don't even know if that's what they are, but that's just something that I happen to notice.
Is any sort of training tool to keep in mind. So this training tool could be an electric collar or a prong collar like what we use.
Okay, so she does use prong collars.
It could be a pet corrector.
Pet corrector is a compressed air, usually in a red can, found at like big box pet stores or Amazon or whatnot. I mean, I used to use it with clients, even with my own dog, but I did stop using it because I realized that it was unnecessary, and it could have a behavioral fallout, as well as, it was too easy for the owner to overuse it. Even though we give them certain examples of things, like that people would overuse an air can. Like if it would just make that noise. It was just you could even use computer cleaner, something to use to clean your keyboard with. It was just to make a hissy noise. I don't recommend it now. I don't necessarily condone that. But if I had the correction fail with just compressed air, imagine all the people who may have a correction fail with an e-collar. I'm just, circling this because I just associate this with the mini educator controller mabobbers, but that doesn't mean that they are. But, people can have a fallout with an e-collar, which is, I imagine far more intense and could cause just as much, if not more damage, because it's not just psychological scaring, but it could be physical damage.
Thing that causes your dog to settle down or acts as a punisher for a really bad decision.
So she said any tool that used that causes the dog to settle down. So for me, hearing punishment or correction and settle down, I think of they don't actually settle down, you just suppress behavior. That's just my opinion of when I hear that, I hear, what the animal is actually doing. They're not settling down, you're suppressing behavior and they give up. Or the animal getting a correction for a really bad choice, when really it's not the animal's fault. We shouldn't put the accountability on the animal, which we do too much, and we're taught to and reinforced to, because as an owner, as a human who is involved in this animal's life, when we take them into our lives and our worlds, and into our homes, we can control every aspect, and we do control every aspect of their life. So if they make a bad decision, it's based on us. We need to be able to fix that. Is it, depending on what they do, can we still correct the behavior in a way that's not going to make them lose trust in us? Sure. You can correct behavior, but it's about, I choose to redirect rather than correct. Don't correct, redirect. Change the behavior instead of just saying, no, don't do this, because then, okay, well, maybe I'll try this, and that's also a wrong answer. Or maybe I'll do this, and that's also the wrong answer. So make the right answer easy, the wrong answer hard. An old saying, but doesn't necessarily mean you need to go beat your dog because, or give them a harsh, leash correction because they made a decision that you didn't think was right. But make it hard for them to accomplish that wrong answer. If they're surrounded by, if they're in an area where they can't really chew up anything, but they have appropriate dog toys, that's the right answer. You're making it easy.
This video is for you. If your dog is so sensitive that just a really firm tone of voice makes them be like, whoa, even this video is for you, okay? And if you hear anything in the background,
oh my goodness,
she's fluffy and hanging out with me.
Little fuzzy baby
for you guys. Doggy eye candy.
Any dog, any animal is eye candy for me.
Let's talk about using training tools, expectations for your dog.
Okay.
Let's say that you did a training with a trainer. Maybe it was one-on-one lessons. Maybe it was a board and train, and they taught you how to do off-leash training with your dog.
Okay, so I think that's important to understand, the difference between one-on-one and board and train. How long was the board and train? Was it 2 weeks? Was it a month? Did the dog come home over the weekend? Did the owner go visit frequently? Did they really have several sessions they worked with you and the dog? The reason I don't normally recommend board and trains is because they've trained the dog and not the human. You should be training the human to train the dog. And together, board and trains are also kind of like, basically like a boot camp. You train a lot of behavior and you train the behavior really well and really strict in a short amount of time. So that, and the dog is the one that has to learn that, so however they teach it, it could be just positive reinforcement. Great. Then I'm totally okay with it. But if you're using other means like corrective tools, then obviously I'm not so okay with it because, the dog didn't ask to go there and become the perfect dog in 2 weeks. The owner got the dog, they should work with the dog, and it's training is a lifelong thing.
You can't go home and just correct your dog who's off leash in the backyard and won't come to you.
Okay, good.
You can't do that.
Awesome. I'm glad she says that.
Do that.
Very good.
You have relationship work to do.
Awesome.
And that's you're setting a tone in other areas of the dog's life to establish a relationship of earned affection.
Okay, so I will say that's where she kind of loses me there, but I will say that I'm with her on the fact that you do need, relationship building. That's why I don't support a lot of board and trains, because you're just teaching the dog, but your dog is, are they really learning, or are they just doing it to comply with, avoiding a correction? You should do it in a way that makes sense to the dog. Otherwise, and you can do that either way, either through punishment or through reward, because it's rewarding for the dog and they want to do it. Dogs have been literally built to work well with humans. So, the least we can do is just, for all they do for us, we could at least have a little bit of respect for them. For me, I'm not one of those people who cares about earned affection. Really, you have to show a dog that you have to earn your affection from me, the human. I'm not so great. Trust me, I brought you into my life to give me affection. I'm not going to make you earn your affection from me or earn your meal from me. If you're a crazy dog, maybe we can, earn playtime. If you're calm, or if you're going to be chewing on me all the time, then you can, we need to learn some self-control, and you're not going to, we're not going to play if you're chewing on me instead of the toy, but we can still work on that. That doesn't mean I need to punish you. Or if you're pulling on like mad to get to the dog park, then we need to work on that. We're not going to go in the dog park until we're walking calmly. And that can take time, and there's a whole list of things that go into it, not just, very simple, okay, 1, 2, 3 steps.
And respect. And you have to put in the practice.
I'd say trust too.
An obedience command like come takes repetitions. It takes
right.
work.
Absolutely.
Hundreds of repetitions.
Absolutely.
Not only from a trainer, but then again with the owner.
So you could save yourself time with just the owner training. Because when the dog learns from the trainer, they listen to the trainer, but they have to start all over again with the owner. So I feel like it would be less confusing if the trainer just worked with the owner, and showed them a few times and really made sure that they get the owner as good as the trainer to be able to call the dog back and really practice that.
Or you should expect that electronic device or any training tool to work. We do not put a prong collar on a dog.
I still don't think you need any of those tools anyway. It sounds like the way she would be using them would be strictly using them as a punishment, which, again, is not fair to the dog because we still have too high of expectations of our dogs. The average owner has been taught and reinforced by other trainers out there, a lot of trainers out there in old school, thinking that your dog does what you say because you want them to. Or your dog should listen to you, not because you have a treat, but because it's me as the master. You know what? Screw that. Screw those kind of people. Screw that kind of mindset. I'm trying to be calm, but you know what? No. You are not so great with your opposable thumbs because your dog should listen to you just because, you feed them? You give them a house? You chose to get the dog. Just like with children. Yeah, you have a roof over their head. You chose to have a child. Okay? Don't put that accountability and make them be thankful to you for choosing to have an expense like that.
In the yard, tell them to come, and when they don't do it, correct them. We put in tons of work and repetition.
So good. So she's saying don't do that. Don't go into the yard, and if they don't come, correct them. You need to, especially if you haven't put the time in.
Teach them what it means before we hold them accountable.
Which, again, I still, even if we teach them what it means, I still don't like holding the animal accountable because, again, why should they come to us just because it's us, or because we need them to? If you don't have time for your dog to run around for 15 minutes before you go to work and now they're, running around loose, go out there on a leash. Have them go potty and then go back in. And I tell people this all the time. I tell all my clients, look, if you don't have time and you're not sure, your dog is not 100% going to come to you, you're pretty sure, don't even try it. Go out on leash, take the time, walk around. Yes, it's a little extra work, but you prevent your dog from learning to not come when called. Not necessarily that they blow you off. That's kind of a human idea. Yeah, sure, dogs can blow us off, but it's why? Why should I go to you now? It's so fun to be outside. They're a dog. They're like a kid. Why should we punish them for being, a kid and being happy? If we want to have an easier time with them, we need to make it easier on ourselves. Prevent them from learning behaviors that we don't want them to learn. Have a leash. Have a small fenced-in area, that's only a few feet wide or whatnot for their potty area. You can, let them go in there. They can go potty. You can, leave and get dressed, whatever. Then come back, get them, bring them in, whatever. Okay, so just, again, I still can't, I don't like to hold the animal accountable in a lot of these human situations. I don't think it's fair.
They're trained. They understand what it means. The owners have to do the same thing because usually they have relationship work to do as well.
Now, when she says the dog is trained and knows what it means, do we really know, or are we just saying that in our opinion as an individual human? The dog knows what it means. Do they really? And do they know it with every person? Do they know it with every situation? If they're outside and there's a plane going by, if it's raining, if it's snowing, if there's ice on the concrete, whatever. Every situation.
You're wrong. There's plenty of dogs that they're just great from the moment they go home, and I'm super happy for those owners. But most of the dogs we see, they have anxiety or arousal issues of some sort.
Reactivity.
Fear, something like that, where the owners have to rebuild their relationship with their dog, which is very difficult. It's 10 times longer than
Yeah.
for a new person to do it.
And that's good. And I hope they do take the time to rebuild their relationship. I think that's awesome. I am all for supporting people rebuilding and starting from scratch and really getting to know who their dog is and not who they want their dog to be or comparing to their last dog.
All right, so another example is your dog is in the house and they have anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe
I've
they
been
were doing
there.
pretty good. After you worked with them a little bit with training, they were doing pretty good. So you started giving them free run of the house. Fast forward a month later, they start barking a little bit here and there. And you correct them, but you don't change the structure in the house.
Okay, so for this, well, let's let her finish what she's saying, and then I'll give
them
my
tons
thoughts.
and tons of freedom.
Okay.
Access to you. You just let the rules go again.
So having access to you is like a negative thing. Like, yeah, I get it if she's talking about separation anxiety. She said anxiety. I didn't know she was talking necessarily about separation anxiety. You shouldn't use being away from you as a punishment and that they have to earn that, in my opinion. And also, lots of little things happen within that month that, what's their structure? Is the dog getting enough exercise? Are they, do they need to be on medication? Are they getting off of medication, getting on medication? There's a lot of other questions and things that come up that, that you can see that start building. And a lot of people, I'm not saying that she necessarily says it, but a lot of people will say, all of a sudden the dog attacked. All of a sudden the dog started doing this. And it's like, no, dogs don't just do this for the sake of it. It's been building in very small increments with body language, with their interactions with you, their interactions within their own environment that we miss. And I'm not saying that, you're a terrible person if you miss it. Just, once you realize it, then we it's our job to keep an eye out for that kind of thing.
Now, fast forward a few months later, and they have a barking, anxious fit. And you seriously correct them for it via training tool, tone of voice, pet corrector, whatever it might be. I think that's unfair.
I agree.
Dogs are animals. They don't...
Sorry, just to say, what kind of, she says fit, what kind of fit? Was the dog in a crate in another room? Like, I'm just curious, I'm just, curiously asking that. That is the dog, is the person trying to work on separation anxiety and the dog is in another room trying to tear through the door? I mean, that's just, what comes to mind for me.
Rationalize. So their relationship with you is really important in how they view you.
I agree.
If you have a dog that you know has anxiety and you're giving them all this freedom in the house, then you set them up to fail, and then you correct them. You're betraying their trust.
I agree. Absolutely.
You're building a relationship.
You're confusing them
of expectations and consistency, which builds confidence. Builds confidence in their role in the world and their role with you.
I mean, dogs are they like schedules. Dogs do best what they do most. They like to have, be on a schedule. So yes, if you confuse them because we're really good at you being able to be alone in another room for a little while, you don't have to constantly see me, or I go to work or I go to the store or whatnot, and I come back and you're fine because we've taken time to work on that, and then I just stop doing that, then the dog says, okay, this is my new usual, and then randomly one day you say, I'm going to go to the movies, and I'm going to be gone for 4 hours or 2 hours or whatever. And then, yeah, that can seriously happen. And that's not on the dog at all. It's on the human. I mean, again, we have to hold ourselves accountable, which I'm glad that she says you can't correct your dog like that. Kudos to her. I totally agree with that. And I'm glad she's putting that information out. That is absolutely correct. I mean, that's based on an opinion. I'm not going to say it's fact. I can't say it's fact. But I think that is very fair to say that. But we need to, put which sounds like she's doing is, teaching people, hey, you need to hold yourself accountable. Just learn from this. And if you learn from your mistakes, just like Lord knows I have learned from my mistakes, then good for you, all the better. But if you just choose to be ignorant, then I don't have anything to say to you.
Doing this because I know tons of people out there that are really doing the structure. They're trying to change their relationship with their dog for the better.
Good for them.
They're still really struggling, and they will always have a serious element of structure needed. It's not going to go away in order.
Now that to me just sounds really interesting. I mean, it could be that everybody's stressed because the owner is so stressed about having structure. You know, it's like if you have a stressed out owner, you're going to have a stressed out dog. You know, maybe they don't need to necessarily worry so much about the perfect structure, but just how you interact with your dog. Like, you don't have to be trying to you know, I don't know, dot your I's and cross your T's every second of the day. That's like a robot. You need to live like a person. Or maybe consider rehoming this dog to someone who is a better fit for them while you can get help for yourself. I mean, you can give yourself some time, or maybe, you know, give yourself some time, you know, away from the dog. It doesn't necessarily have to be rehoming, but you gotta take care of yourself as a human just as much as you do a dog. So, I mean, I hope that these people are able to find some kind of peace in their life.
To have control over their dog in really bad moments. However, I also know that there are some of you out there that I've never met, but I know there are some of you out there that use punishment in a way to demand compliance.
Absolutely.
Putting in the work and the effort to create a relationship with the dog, but better
absolutely,
yet, without understanding what dogs need.
Very good. And they don't even want to understand. I mean, a lot of the times they don't. Like, I mean, I've had, you know, clients before where they just did it because it was always done that way, or they, you know, so many people I've worked with that say, oh, I grew up with dogs. You know, I don't care if you grew up with them or not. I mean, I did too. That doesn't mean that I was training them. And even then, if you grew up with dogs and however you train them, that was 20 years ago. That was 30 years ago. And for some people, 50 years ago. It doesn't matter. Like, you need to change along with the times. And it doesn't matter that you grew up with them. You're not training them. Your parents raised the dogs. You didn't necessarily. You're not training a dog when you're 3 or even 10. You could teach them to sit, but you're not really training serious behaviors. I mean, not that you couldn't learn, but, you know, you have to really understand how dogs work.
Maybe you're not spoiling them with affection. Honestly, that a lot of times, that's not what it is. It's just freedom in a yard or in a house to make their own decisions and go wherever they want, but they happen to have anxiety or territorial issues or this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, for me, like, I'm not necessarily, I don't know, maybe because I've, you know, with my own Shiba, like, I just happen to work with him every day of his life. Like, that's just the life that I do, that I personally live. But I've never had any problem aside from with him having freedom, other than, you know, the first couple of months with potty training him. You know, yeah, he was with me everywhere, or he was, you know, tethered to a little, you know, his crate with some, you know, little pads and a little pen area, and then I can take him out when he needed to. But I don't know. I've never had, you know, much of an issue or thought about that with, maybe it's because I have a Shiba. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe with my next dog, I'll definitely see an issue with that. But as far as seeing behavioral things arise from too much freedom in the house. And again, it could be because I've grown up or with him, you know, with raising my Shiba, I've learned and I've, you know, gone to school for this and continued studying. So I know what to look for. So it's just secondhand for me. So maybe I don't really have, you know, a leg to stand on. The dogs that I've worked with, maybe I'm just lucky with, you know, too much freedom, you know, other than if you just completely ignore your dog and they're just, you know, tearing the house apart and you're just la-di-da-di-da, you know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy.
Not being set up to understand their role in the life you've given them, okay?
And I'm not obsessed with role either. Like, my dog is like he's my partner. You know, he's my partner, he's my soul, he's my child. I mean, you know, I don't dress him up or anything, but, you know, he's my partner in life. Not this lesser being, not I'm his leader, I'm his human. We're roommates.
Makes sense. Now, I know there's lots of nuance in between. There's tons of people really doing the work and feel like they're not seeing a lot of progress.
Absolutely.
I absolutely know that that's the case. And I'm not saying that you have to do a ton of obedience training repetitions with your dog in order to correct your dog. That's not what I'm saying either.
And I think that more people should be able to, I tried to point out the smallest things in training, and really most of the time I'm giving most of the positive reinforcement to the owner that I'm working with, because I want people to be able to see that yes, what you're doing is correct. You keep doing this. You need as much positive reinforcement as the dog does, if not more, when you're working with me, because I want you to see what you're doing correctly, and that way you can see the smallest change and be happy about it. I tell people with particularly hard cases that, hey, bring your expectations down to the ground. Okay, start there. And then with every little bit that we accomplish, you can, it'll bring up your confidence with that. So I really try to make the owner feel good about the decision to work one-on-one with their dog and let them know that it's going to take time. But hey, every day you get a little bit better.
Because it's not even about the obedience. It's about how you set the dog up in your home based off of their issues, either genetically or created by circumstance.
I can agree with that, absolutely.
An aggressive dog, you don't have that dog off leash where you might see another dog.
Absolutely.
And just correct them for flying off the handle.
Absolutely.
There's so much other stuff that you have to work on first.
Yes.
So they understand what's expected of them. So when you do correct them, they have a default.
When it comes to that, say you have, she's as aggressive or reactive dog, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's even fair to correct the dog. Even with what they expect. What do you expect them to expect? If they're reactive or they're aggressive, usually it's for a reason. Most of the time it's fear-based. And if not, either way, they just have a reason to be reactive towards this other animal. So instead of having an expectation that they just ignore the animal when they go crazy, then you correct them, I would rather teach them to, be able to ignore the animal and not even see the other animal as any kind of a threat. Trust me that, yes, you see this other dog and it may look like a giant bear that's coming towards you, but I will protect you and you don't need to defend yourself. You can trust me to avoid this situation. Of course, being on leash and having, everything for safety and whatnot, but I don't think, versus there, a dog being sassy, like I can say my Shiba, Adonis is definitely sassy, and yes, then I'll get on him a little bit. If we're walking and there's a dog just totally ignoring him, and he does his little his little side little half attempt at like a little lunge and like, hey, just know I'm big and bad. And I'll be like, hey, you knock it off, you leave him alone. They didn't do anything. He doesn't care. But just to get his attention. But that's totally different than working with a dog like Zeus that I've had on the channel, or any other dog, or Rin, the little pug. That's different from being reactive out of fear.
Back to you, or to settle down, or to listen to something else. Doesn't even have to be obedience. Just body language coming from you. That comes from practice. Some dogs need more practice than others. Some dogs need very little practice.
Some humans need more practice than others.
Well, understanding, and they'll have a complete turnaround. Some dogs just need less pressure put on them.
Absolutely.
In a few weeks, they'll be 10 times better.
Absolutely.
Just with less pressure and more structure. We've seen that with Mamba. We have a Cane Corso right now, and with just by being in a new place, adding tons of structure and taking pressure off of her to be social, she has calmed down dramatically and doing very little active work with pressure. So what I mean by that is dogs aren't running into her face.
Absolutely.
Creating a scenario to correct her reactivity.
Yeah, so that's not what you do. You don't correct reactivity, period, in my opinion. You don't. Because the dog has a right to tell others to back off. And if we just correct it, that can be a ticking time bomb. We're setting the dog up for failure and just telling them no matter what, we're going to flood you and you just have to put up with it. There's no need to correct a dog who's being reactive. Again, back to being sassy, that's one thing. If they're asking for it, if they go up to another dog and start trouble, okay, they asked for it. Not saying that they need it, or they need to get into a fight, or they even need any kind of an e-collar correction, but that's different than her being reactive. She already has a reason to be fearful of these dogs getting in her face. Even a dog who's not reactive. If Adonis has a dog running up to his face, I have no problem. I may be a bad person, but I have no problem, I've learned over the years, to just let him snap back at them. It's once and done. If a dog is off leash and running in our face, Adonis snaps at them in the air. He doesn't even make contact. He just says, back the F off, and they say, whoa, sorry, and then I say, okay, Adonis, let's go. And we go in the other direction. If the dog continues to follow, then I'll swing my leash and I'll get loud and scream at the dog, and because I've given up on telling the owners, just give us our space, because it's our right to just have our own space, just like we don't get in anybody else's space. And it's always in areas where there's not supposed to be off-leash dogs, but all these people bring their uncontrollable off-leash dogs over. And if I didn't have Adonis, I would play with that dog. But even with reactivity, even with Adonis being who he is, he has a right to tell that dog to back off, because they're off-leash, they're in his space. Just like this dog. This dog should not be corrected. No dog that's reactive should be corrected. That's just my opinion. That's just how I train. I teach them that, hey, you can, what? I'm going to be reactive on this dog before you even have a chance to think about reacting. I'm going to be on this dog's case, yelling at him, whatever. If I don't know this dog, even if I do know the dog, I'm not going to set you up in a situation where you have to become shark bait for me to correct you and teach you a different behavior. That's just not how I train.
Just by taking pressure off of her, 90% of the reactivity has dwindled away.
Well, that's awesome. That's good.
Structure. That's the other thing. Adding.
And what kind of structure do you add, though?
Routine. There is no freedom to run around and do what she wants, sniff this where she wants, and be alert at this when she wants.
To me, that just sounds like a little over controlling. I mean, maybe it helps. If it helps, then fine. But again, I'm trying to give a voice to the dogs here. That that's what they see structure as. Militant. You don't get to do anything on your own. You only get to sniff when I tell you to sniff, where you get to sniff, and blah, 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 blah. And look, I'm not saying that they're necessarily militant like that, but to me, that's not the kind of structure that I think of, that a dog needs that will help them. I mean, like, you can have structure of, make sure that you have manners, and you can be in a home without, peeing everywhere or tearing up pillows and this and that, but even teaching structure, the dog doesn't have to pay. Even when teaching structure, I don't think the dog should have to pay, by living in a box 24/7 until I let them out to go pee or go play for 30 minutes, or they have to stay tied up to something or laying down or any of this. I don't think they should have to do that just to have. That's not my idea of structure. And again, my opinion.
The point is just that I hope that makes sense to some of you guys out there. And if you feel like you might have fallen in that trap, maybe you've spent a few months and your dog is just kind of roaming around the house and doing what they want. But then when they bark at the door, which they have a previous history of,
right?
And then you seriously correct them, but it's a legit anxiety or territorial issue.
But do we know, though?
Run of the home, the rest of the time, it's pretty confusing for dogs, I'll be honest.
I mean, I'll say I don't think that's necessarily going to change anything. I don't think preventing a dog from walking around the house, let's just say that they crate them. I don't think having a dog crated for 6 hours a day, I'm not saying they do this, but crating a dog, and the only time they get out of the crate is to go potty or have a specified playtime, is going to stop them from barking at the door. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm stupid. I don't think that's going to stop that. But who knows? Unless they have a soundproof crate, I don't think that would, in my mind, that wouldn't be the first thing that I would teach to prevent them from barking at the door is structure. I would actually teach them and desensitize them to the sound of the door knocking or the doorbell, so that way they actually have a default behavior of, when they hear that, they go to a certain place. They go to a bed. They go to their crate. They go to a place of comfort, and they just wait there until, and for a little reward or a little attention, or they wait until the owner says, okay, we're free to go. You can get off your bed now. But that's just me.
Every dog is different.
Sure.
I want you guys to keep that in mind. Let's not be afraid to tell our dogs when they're misbehaving, but let's also...
I disagree with that. I mean, no, I disagree with that. It's too easy for people to want to correct a dog. I don't think we're enforcing that. Don't be afraid to tell your dog when they're doing something wrong. Well, in my mind, there's a lot less that the dog is doing wrong and more that the human set them up for failure, probably, than in a lot of other trainers' minds. To me, I mean, again, like if your dog is if you open the front door and your dog bolts out the door, and you know your dog bolts out the door, why don't you have a leash by the door, or have a little airlock system where you have a pen, or a double gate. You can make your own out of, I don't know, cardboard box, whatever you want. Make some kind of separate barrier in front of the door, or have a leash by your door, slip leash, whatever. So that way, before you open the door, and your dog's right there, you can put the leash on the dog, you can open the door. If you don't have your leash on your dog, you can open the door, they don't get past the gate. Or you can even put your dog in a different room, or have, you need to prepare for that, and then you can teach your dog. That's just management. Then you can teach your dog not to bolt out the door. But either way, you can't blame the dog when you know that this is a habit, but you don't choose to do anything about it other than just correcting the dog.
When we're setting them up to fail,
absolutely,
the expectations do not match the relationship with your dog. And it is your duty, if you have an animal, it is your duty to understand that animal.
Absolutely.
What their signs are, how they feed off of things, to understand animal body language.
And hopefully you get it from reliable sources, not just somebody who grew up with dogs their whole life and they know how to do this, that, and this and that. If you're reading from sources, make sure that you read to see the most up-to-date information on those sources. And if you only see one source that says one thing and 10 other sources that say another thing that support something else, I would personally go with the one that has more sources that support something else. Say you have one source that says the sky is green, and 10 other sources that say the sky is blue. I mean, the other sources all are collectively from different, responsible people and good resources. So maybe we should go with that one and not just believe the one that's out there, because we have different sources, a number of them that all happen to say the same thing from their own research and blah, blah, blah. So that's just me. But I mean, tomato, tomato.
It's your duty.
But good. I'm glad that she says that. It's absolutely your duty.
Animal of any kind.
Absolutely.
Anyway, guys, I hope that gives you some food for thought, and have a great week.
Overall, I think that was great. I think she had a lot of really good information out there. I'm really glad that she's supporting that. Hey, don't just go correcting your dog willy-nilly. You have to have a reason for it. For her, it might be a different reason than my reason. I may have less reasons to correct her dog. But I don't know quite what her idea of structure is. Maybe if I were to watch her channel more or look into it more, then I'd be able to know. But either way, that's just, she's putting out information from, her own experience and her opinion, and she has some information out there, and I think that's great. So that's my take on this video. It wasn't really as bad as I was expecting it to be, which is, on me for having a, unkind expectations of, I think everybody's going to be like super harsh to animals or have really, really bad information, but she actually did a very good job. And good, I wish her the best of luck with her business and all her animals and her pets, and, just like anybody else. I mean, I disagree with her on the prong collars, or, maybe her idea of structure, but I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that she's harming animals. So there was that. There was the good, but the bad, the ugly, the nonsensical, whatever. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos where I'm a little more calm and less animated, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to be as calm as I can. So, if I scare you away with my animation and whatnot, or my yelling and whatnot, then please let me know, and I'd be happy to be sure to tone it down a bit. Take a chill pill before. Not literally, just be calm. So thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. If you liked the video, like it. If you didn't like it, you're welcome to dislike it. If you want to subscribe, you can. I would appreciate that, but you don't have to. That's okay. All my subscribers, I love you all. And the people that don't subscribe, that just watch, I love you all too. So go give your critters some kind of lovin'. Say how do you do for me. And until next time, stay positive.